everybody, and welcome to Masters of Real Estate. Today, I have a guest, Trevor Thompson, on the line right here to be able to talk to you about how he's been able to transition from corporate America into passive investing and now being active in multiple deals consistently going, which is kind of everybody's dream, to be able to get out of their corporate job and move into being a full-time real estate investor. And it's a hard transition sometimes. I quit my CPA firm job in 2006 to go into real estate, thinking that, oh, I'm going to have time for the gym now and I'm going to have all this extra free time. And you realize you work like crazy, even harder than you did, previously at your, previous job. So, Trevor, thanks so much for joining us today. Could you give a little background on yourself, what you did previously and what made you want to get into real estate and what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Niagara Falls, Canada, and I've been in the attractions and entertainment industry my whole life. I actually started work at age 13 with Ripley's, believe it or not. Then I did 18 years with Guinness World Records, and then I did 20 years with iFly Indoor Skydiving, and I opened 46 of 80 locations all over the world. I was always
Awesome.
interested in real estate, but I was afraid of toilets, tenants, and trash. And so I never did the single family. I never did it. Always said no time, no money for anything else. And to be honest, didn't really understand it. And then I learned about apartment syndications and I went, where have you been my whole life? And started passively investing as soon as I learned about it.
That's awesome. And so you started first off investing with other people and other
Correct.
operators where you weren't the operator. And what did you do in the beginning when, it's a big hurdle for people to get over, is to learn who can they trust? How can they vet a
Yeah.
deal? Like what are the things you had to learn before you could start investing, or did you kind of wing it initially and then learn as you went? I would assume that's the case for some of it. So
Yeah, it's definitely, you're never ready, and if you wait till you're ready, you just never will be.
right.
So I started looking for what I'm going to call my group, my people that I could learn from and trust. So I joined a local real estate group, and even though they were mostly doing single family, they did have a commercial group that was training about commercial real estate, syndications. I got to know them. I was part of the group, so I thought, okay, I go to their meetups once a month. I can say, what's going on with my money if I have a question?
Right.
And so I just decided that's it. I've got to trust people, and I did it. I was terrified. The first time I hit send on my money, I was terrified. And of course, over the years now, I'm a lot more comfortable. But at the end of the day, the most important thing in that is who you give your money to, not where you give your money. So find people with similar values that communicate well with you, that you want to do business with, and then you just got to trust them after you reach a certain point.
I couldn't agree with you more. Definitely doing your homework and those types of things on the deal and the operator and the overall, metrics of the economy and where the deal might go in the future. But, the most important factor is the operator, because they're going to be conservative if they can on the deal up front. They're going to care about their investors. They're going to handle operations and do what they need to do, even if things bad happen. And we've seen a lot of things happen with interest rates rising in the past, where a lot of operators, even good ones, were caught off guard because they didn't expect rates to just skyrocket like that all of a sudden, right? And so, sometimes there's nothing you can do, even if you're a good operator or bad operator in that case, because there's an economic challenge. So it's a matter of what do they do now that occurs? What factors, what things can they do to maneuver to be
Yeah.
able to solve those problems? And that's really what matters when you find a good operator, is what are they going to do when things go wrong? When it goes right, everybody's making money, there's no problems. When it goes wrong, what's the action that they're going to actually go out and do? And, you hit it on the head with needing to trust them. Yes, do your homework. Make sure
Yeah.
they have the experience, have the team, have the right deals and are being conservative. But, after all of that, you have to let them do what they specialize in and, focusing on that particular asset class. Now, when you went and transitioned out of, I'll say corporate America, even though those jobs don't sound like corporate America, they sound a lot more fun, than opening all these shops around the world and Guinness Book of World Records and all this stuff is really cool. But when you first transitioned, I mean, were you were tired of that and you wanted to get more passive income coming in? Were you able to develop enough passive income to replace your salary at that time, or were you still kind of shortfalling and needing to continue to move that forward to jump into this?
Yeah, so I started, as I said, being very active in the passive investing. I'd actually invested in 14 syndications. I was thinking about leaving corporate America, and then this little thing that came along called COVID made the decision for me. So the way I call it, I was looking over the cliff going, am I ready to jump? Am I ready just to do this full time?
Right.
And COVID kicked me in the butt, and my work laid me off, or however you do, when COVID
Right.
happens. And so I was forced into it. So I wasn't 100% ready. I definitely would have been more prepared if I'd have known. But again, who
Right.
knew? Who knew COVID was going to change everything for everybody?
Right. For
Um,
sure. Yeah.
but it turned out to be a blessing because it allowed me to pursue it. It took me a little while to get traction on the active side, I'm not going to lie. The big lessons I learned there is the power of being part of that experienced team. I was trying to do it myself, and it was
Right.
super hard to get deals. The market was hot, things were happening, and then, interest. And so I definitely I got on 3 deals before I joined Massive Capital, and then joined them within 8 years. Got on eight, or sorry, 1 year got on 8 more deals with them. So kind of tripled my ability to be able to get on deals, being part of an experienced team.
Yeah, I think that's a very underrated thing that a lot of people don't focus on is they don't realize that hey, you can't do this alone. Like, or you can, but it's a major uphill battle to be able to do that. You got to
Yeah.
find the deals, raise the capital, handle operations, handle investor relations, be a problem solver, handle accounting and marketing and sales and all the other stuff that goes into this from a individual self-employed standpoint. Maybe if you're doing one deal, you could handle all that stuff, but it's still a full-time job then if you're in that space. And it's a lot better to come into a group of people or have the resources to say, hey, this team over here, they're already raising a big chunk of capital. They're already helping find the deals. They got the operations in deck or in check, and maybe I can add this other value by helping find deals or help with operations or help raise capital in different ways,
Yeah.
or going through those things and saying what is my best skill set to add value here. Because a lot of people, like you said, it's like you have to have all the money to go put in to be able to cover
Yeah.
your expenses with cash flow if you're going to just be a passive investor. Otherwise, you have to actually have some other form of active income, which is either a job that you might not love, or working to add value to these groups, to add value to a deal and earn your general partnership interest in that particular deal, right? And that's a great way to build wealth, because if you're in the space already, you can make a lot more money for your time doing that than you can working at a job. I'll say most of the time for most income earners, even if they're making a couple $100,000 a year, you can make a lot more once you learn this space and understand it, and it can be infinitely scalable if you have the right team members. And that's the hard part, right? Is the team.
Yeah.
How did you vet the initial team, or what'd you do when you first came in that made
So
you excited about
yeah,
working with the team you're working with?
it's super interesting. So one of the members of the team is actually who I made my first 2 passive investments with. So
Nice,
he was
nice.
he was an early mentor, and then he had a family situation that he actually stepped back from syndicating. He just didn't. He had something happen, and he just didn't have the time and energy, because you have to be present if you're going to be an active sponsor. And
Right.
then he started to get that all took care of itself, and he started to get back involved. We worked on a couple of deals together, but it never happened. Then he joined up with 2 other friends of mine, and I went, oh wow, it's kind of like the stars are aligning. I started following them. They'd already been following me, and we just had a meeting and said, hey, listen, this is meant to be. How do we work it out? What could we do together? And I've been there now, I think it's 16 months with working with them.
Awesome.
as part of the team. So it's just kind of like right place, right time, but it's more than that, right? Because it's kind of like I started a plan 5.5 years ago,
Right. Right.
and all the pieces just kept aligning correctly.
It shows you it's the power of the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a long-term experience with somebody, and then you find other ways of adding value to them. And I find that it's really good to be able to have access to multiple people that have projects, that there things are going on with their teams, and that you can start to vet and get to know, is going to different masterminds and different
Yeah.
conferences and things like that, where you can sit down and actually have scheduled calls with different people about how you can work together, and being able to get to know people and finding, hey, these guys are doing this but they
Yeah.
need this, these guys are doing this but have this, let me put them together and find ways of adding resources to each other and making money in that way. And you have to have access to that. A lot of people are going, great, that sounds great, I'd love to join a team like that or be able to get involved, but they're going, well, I don't know anybody. Well, then you got to start networking. In the beginning, I was going to 5 networking events a week, every single week for like 3 years. Now I go to conferences with higher level people where it costs me $20,000-$30,000 to join these different masterminds, but the relationships and the capital that I can make in the room are insane, right? So
Yeah.
the value there is, you have to have the time to focus on it too, though, and be able to make sure you're dedicated to that craft and trying to learn everything you possibly can before you go jump to that kind of a level, and you
Yeah.
have a basic level of understanding. So
And
what
if
what
you're going
types
to
of
be
deals do you?
part of a team too, you need to be able to bring value to the team. So it
For
was
sure.
really synergistic that I sat down and said, hey, I think you guys are missing this, and I can help bring that, right? And
Right.
so they were doing all of the things right, but they weren't creating a community. And what I wanted to do was create a community, create a place where people could come, could learn, and then eventually invest. And so it worked out really well that I even made my own title up, Vice President Investor Engagement. Because I
Nice.
wanted to create a community where people engaged, got to know each other, and we do every Wednesday night we do a webinar. Our ladies group does one every other week. We do a capital raising call every other week. We do a lot of things for the community, and ultimately, it's obviously, yes, we want to get our message out there,
Right.
but we want to add value. And education is key in this space. If you look at it, there's still only less than 10% of Americans investing in real estate. Kind of sad, really, isn't it?
It's insane because so many people have made fortunes on it. And it's not even necessarily, all real estate. There's so many opportunities out there that people invest in, and the more you get out there and network, the more opportunities you see available, and then you
Yeah.
find a way to add value based on people's needs. So all you do the whole time you're networking is listen to what their needs are and try to find a way to help any way you can, and forget about what you need right then.
Yeah.
And we started a group called For Investors by Investors, or FIBI, that just taught financial education and real estate education without a sales pitch in Southern California, and we've been running six groups every single month since 2008, and it's been, now we have over 25,000 members associated with it, and that kind of value, that community of being able
Yeah.
to teach people and help people is insane. You see people's growth over that period of time, and it gets really exciting to see people succeed in the space where they just started out. I have friends of mine that just started out investing in notes just very in the beginning, and then now they got millions and millions of dollars invested in notes and are
Yeah.
retiring off of the cash flow. And you get excited to see that all off of a community of investors that comes together to help each other in that way. So can you talk a little bit about your communities and what you said you run them on a weekly basis, and
Yeah, so
whereabouts
we
are
have
they? Are they live?
yeah, they're virtual. They're
Okay.
virtual webinars every Wednesday night. We do a lot of virtual events. We also do some in-person training, but it's of course very Texas-centric, either
For
Houston,
sure.
Austin, or Dallas, just because that's where we are.
Okay.
But we do a lot of outreach. We try to reach people. We do have our own internal mastermind too, where people pay for the mentorship and get to join us on our deals. And I think the most important thing is, no matter what, Warren Buffett's wise words are, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work till you die. And the most important message that if your audience could ever get is their money has to work for them versus they work for their money.
Right.
And any environment that teaches, trains that, it's going to revolutionize the American economy. I'm a firm believer.
It's really interesting when you start to see the fruits of this. And what asset classes are you primarily focused on right now, and why are you focused on those?
So we're doing value add multifamily,
Okay.
and value add multifamily mostly in what's called the C class property, which is otherwise referred to as workforce housing.
Okay.
We believe that that's kind of still a sweet spot to take a property, make it safer, cleaner, better. You're going to raise some rents, yes, but it's still affordable compared to home ownership or brand new properties. But you're doing it, and that's a really sweet space where you're actually making the world a better place while you're making money doing it, which is kind of like the home run.
I really like the C-class property as well, primarily because you have some economic insulation built in, because the B units can obviously, if they can't afford those rents, they can trickle down into the Cs,
Yeah.
and still have a good tenant base there. And usually you find better value add projects in Cs, because a lot of the institutional ones want A's and B pluses
Yeah.
and things like that have more professional operations versus mom and pops that might buy C's more as well, and they are usually less efficient at their operations and leaves more room on the bone for you to come
Yeah.
in and add that value. When you're doing value add, what are typically the different value add structures and strategies that you guys are implementing?
Yeah, so first and most important is making the property just in general a better and safer place to live. So it's improving some of the amenities. Some of the places don't even. We just bought a property in San Antonio. They had two pools with no pool furniture. It's kind of like a no-brainer, and the pools were closed for 2 years. So we
Yeah, there you
opened the pools. We had a big Memorial Day party. We put some pool furniture in. It's kind of like a no-brainer,
go.
right?
Right.
And added just some other things. And then we're not spending a lot of money on this property on the interior improvements, more on the community improvements,. Because it's already a decent
Right.
quality class apartment, and we're just not going to get any more rent with granite countertops than we are just with solid. So
Right.
we're taking the more of a management approach. They have a playground. It looks like it was built in 1974 and never upgraded. And there's no shade to sit and watch your kids play.
Right.
So again, super simple, right? Make it a nicer playground for the families.
Right.
Put a place where the parents can sit at a picnic table with a cover and get together. It's just kind of like we call it the no-brainer. And a lot of the things I always call it the last 10 feet going to your door, where you come home and you feel like, oh, they've made this place so much nicer. This particular property is that. Now there are other properties where yes, you've got to redo the whole interiors, but
Right.
it's super important to have a bit of variety. And this one is I called it add the finishing touches to make it feel like you came home.
It's pretty funny you talk about the amenities on the outside. Grant Cardone specifically talks about the importance of curb appeal and landscaping, right? Because if you look at that difference, you could have a house inside that really just doesn't look great, but if you put really nice landscaping on the front and make it pop on the outside, it's going to add value, right? You're going to get more rents. You're going to have more of a community feel for what you're doing. If you add security, you add, nice amenities inside where it's usable space and you're thinking about what the community would really love to have to make it a good environment for them, to where they're excited to be there and enjoy those amenities, then like you're in a much better place, and people are willing to pay the price for that. Insides, it depends on the market. Can you get more rents or not, or can you just make sure that you have less vacancies, people that want to stay there, and you don't have turnover, and you just have a tenant retention mindset and program. really is super important. And I think going into the current economy, that kind of mindset from an operations standpoint, an efficiency standpoint, is going to be the breaking point between a good operation and a bad operation, or a deal working and not working,
Yeah.
into the future. I think there'll still be some upward pressure on rents just due to the demand that we're seeing. But at the same time, there might be downward pressure on incomes for people to be able to qualify for these things, let alone more inflation on food, which really is a hidden affordability squeeze that you don't see in your qualifications of people based on
Yeah.
income, right? And
It's
so
so true.
with those things, I think there's some downward pressure on multifamily and in single family on rents. But then at the same time, with the lack of affordability with single families, you get more people getting pushed into multifamily because they can't afford it over here. And so if,
Yeah.
if rates don't change and the affordability stays so low, they're going to turn into renters. So it's usually almost an inverse market between renting and selling and that type of thing. But what are you seeing out there and right now as far as as far as rents go, as far as the economy as a whole, and as far as operations go, as the important aspects of this?
Yeah, so rent obviously has slowed down from what it was in the past 3 years,
Hmm.
but there are still increases. They're just not dramatic increases. And I think the most important thing now is the efficiencies of the operation. I think, we kind of forgot about it for a while, but I want to call it the human touches, like making people feel like they're valued and that you're going to take care of their problems. Okay, what we
Right.
have is workforce housing. These are people who work really hard all day and want to come home and their air conditioner works.
Right.
They
Right.
want to come home and have a chair to sit in while they take their kids to the pool.
Right.
It's not rocket science, right? They want to drive through the parking lot and the potholes are fixed and filled.
Right.
We've almost doubled the lighting at most of our properties, and we switch it out all to low voltage, so it's not costing us any more other than the switch over of lights. But
Right.
you want to make them feel safer and better, and then you just need to know that this is workforce housing, and they're looking for clean and safe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and when you're doing the efficiency aspect of this and working on operations, what do you think the most important part is when you're I'll say when you're running a multifamily building from an operational standpoint? What parts are the key to having an efficient operation? I'll say.
Yeah, so I think the key is a proactive approach. It's always more money to fix something when it breaks. And what happens is everybody doesn't pay attention to the nuisance air conditioner complaints. And the next thing you know, instead of a $500 repair, you have a $5,000 repair. And then having team members on site that are motivated to be proactive, to look for things. Because what happens is once you let something go, several things happen, right? If you come home and I never fix your AC, you don't take care of your apartment because you're mad at me. And all of these things start to accentuate, right? Where if I can just make you may not love me because I did a little rent increase, but I want you to think at least we cared about you enough that when you came home from work, it's 100 degrees in Austin, Texas, that we have your air conditioner working. We have
Right.
some comfortable pool furniture. The pool is open. The water is clean. Some of the
Right.
basic living things that a lot of folks just don't think about. And I think that's going to become more important, right? As more people are, you know, they're kind of stuck in apartment land.
Right.
Even though Texas is way more reasonable when you're from to buy a house, it's still out of the reach
Right.
of most of the average blue collar working family. It's just out of the reach. And so you want to provide them with quality apartment and some sense of community. So we do community events twice a month now. So we took over this property and they'd never done a community event. And it's simple little things like, ice cream trucks or we're not like doing big huge parties,
Right.
but we're
Right.
doing small parties like, okay, the pools are open. We bought $100 worth of pool noodles and just came there and said, have some fun, kids. with a
Right,
bunch of,
right,
what does $100 pool noodles mean to the big picture of a 200
right,
unit apartment? Nothing. But what
right.
does it mean to those kids? They
So,
had
yeah,
a
and the
heyday.
parents are seeing that the
And the
whole time
parents
and
are saying, look
getting
at all these
emotionally
kids
attached.
having fun with the noodles. What a nice place this has turned out to be. I'm glad they're here. And
I,
it's so
I'd rather
simple.
have I'd rather have pool noodles than water balloons all over because I've had to clean those up after my kids consistently, and that's always the fun part. Here, have a water balloon fight, and then of course they're everywhere. So,
Yeah, and if a kid
but
steals a pool noodle, who cares, right? It
right,
costs
right.
you
No, that's
99
awesome.
cents. It's okay.
And going back to, hey, you transitioned from corporate America, started investing passively first and got your feet wet and understanding these deals and being able to understand the due diligence and what team members to work with after investing in 14 of these. And now you're working as a GP, working, with a team that's, doing these bigger multifamily deals and things like that as well. And, what were the trials and tribulations you had to deal with along the way? And of course, we all have those uncertainties. Am I good enough? Am I doing this right? Or, how what does your daily life look like as you're trying to do this, and what are those kind of pain points that you had to go through to get to where you're at right now?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is it's a strange concept, but I call it the concept of never being satisfied. And that's
There you go.
one interesting thing with our team is our team just always like, okay, let's work on being 1% better every day. And at the end of the year, you're in theory 365% better. So let's take care of all of the little things. Let's remove as many pain points. Let's automate. So for example, now we're using a lot of VAs, and our VAs are we've trained our VAs to follow up on leads that come through the system, that
Hmm.
start advertising on our marketplace. And we have VAs that can do 24-hour coverage. So if you say at 2 o'clock in the morning, do you have any apartments available? Somebody can answer that question. It's amazing. Again, we're not geniuses, we're not rocket scientists,
Right.
but we've created these things. We've created a lot of back-end systems that can support all of the front-end work. And I think, again, that's for me been the biggest power of being with a team, because on my first couple of deals, I was managing Facebook Marketplace, and it's not fun. It's hard
Yeah.
work.
So you're focusing on automations and outsourcing as much of the
Yeah.
workload as possible for consistent operations, and you're seeing that occur real time with the teams that you're working with
Well,
to
again,
implement
and,
them.
and with our clientele, when they need an apartment, they don't need it in 3 months. They're not planners, right? They need it next week. And once you determine are they qualified, they need it next week. And so making sure you have inventory ready. Our client, like me, if I'm going to move somewhere, I'm a planner, right? I've got a plan, and I'm going to start looking, and I'm going to do things.
Right.
But this group of folks are not. They're just not planners, and you know, and they need to move because I got a job now this side of town or that side of town. There are a lot more factors that affect them, and living close to work is super important. Especially like some of our folks walk to their jobs. They work at our grocery store's distribution center, and it's a comfortable 7-minute
Right.
walk. And it's a big selling feature for us that they can leave the car at home for the family and be able to walk to work, or
Right.
just some of those things are so important, and just making sure that you're aware of what they need.
This is Thank you so much for this. This has been really awesome. I'm, intrigued by the operational aspect of this stuff because, a lot of people talk about, hey, let's go raise the money for the deal, or they get all excited about the deal, but they forget about that operational aspect of this on the back end and the importance of those things and the importance of thinking like your tenant base and being able to make sure that they are comfortable and they're your true customers at the end of the day as your tenants. And so you got to treat them like that. The capital is one set of customers. The tenant base is the other set of customers. Both need to be nurtured if you're going to be successful in this space, and both need to be able to understand, how this is working, and the kind of ecosystem there with the GP and the operator doing a lot of the work and taking on a lot of the risk and things like that for these types of deals. So it's
Yeah,
good to see the back end.
tenant retention is about 20% of the cost of getting new tenants, right? So keeping tenants in place, keeping them
Right.
happy, keeping them satisfied is by far your most reasonable way to grow. It's
Right.
just, finding new tenants is hard work. Turning apartments is hard work.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you're talking about multiple months of rent or 1 month of rent, somewhere around there, depending on how long it takes, or to get those units turned around. And then you also have rent ready costs and repairs costs. The cost of turnover is insane. So
Yeah.
being able to make sure that you minimize that any way you can with the right renovation materials and stuff like that, along with the right tenant base, along with those tenant retention programs, those three things really will cut those major costs down significantly, and really make you run more efficiently. So,
Yeah, and on larger complexes like ours too, we do a tenant referral program, and it's quite interesting. So if you refer somebody and they sign a lease and they stay for 3 months, we pay you $250. On the second one, we pay you $250. On the third one, we pay you $500. So our message is, would you like to earn an extra $1,000? Would this change your life? Well, of course it would change your life, right? That's $1,000, and all you got to do is find three people you like that you would like to go play your kids and their kids to play together at the pool. It's kind of like a win-win, but they won't refer people to you if they don't feel you care about them.
right,
They
right.
just won't.
This has been really, really intriguing to see both sides of this. How you were able to transition from corporate America into being, I'll call it the dream of being a full-time real estate investor now, and then at the same time now have a major focus on the operational efficiencies. So thank you so much for joining us today, Trevor. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to get to know you on this stuff and understand some of these different aspects, because so many people want to do the same thing and transition to that financial freedom and time freedom that we all want. And so many people can do it through real estate. And to see it actually occurring, I think gives people hope that you can do it, and be able to actually transition yourself and have that kind of freedom. So how do people get a hold of you, Trevor, if they want to get a hold of you?
So the best way is my first initial is K, so K Trevor Thompson on LinkedIn. That's the quickest way to find me. So you got to remember the K and then Trevor Thompson on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Perfect. And if you guys want more information, we have a due diligence checklist on our website, a 200-point due diligence checklist that we give away for free. And that is at www.mathewowens.com with one T in Matthew. So I say my parents couldn't spell. So, so mathewowens.com, and you can download that due diligence checklist, or we have some quick analysis tools and some master classes as well if you guys want those. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it, Trevor. We'll definitely talk soon.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thank you.
Do you want to learn how to create financial freedom in your life through real estate and take your investing business to the next level? If so, you can follow us in one of the following ways. First, you can take one of our free webinars on how to analyze property, how to raise capital for real estate, and how to market and find deals. Three of the key pillars to becoming a successful real estate investor. Number two, you can join us on our mailing list where you'll get tips and tricks on real estate investing directly to your inbox. And number three, you can take our 6-month real estate course that teaches you every aspect of real estate investing you can think of, and more importantly, create financial freedom in your life through real estate investing strategies that I teach. If you want a master's in real estate in 6 months, this course is for you. We're going to go over how to raise money, promissory notes, syndications, fixing and flipping, buy and hold investing, tax and legal structures, self-directed retirement accounts, financial education, how to run a business, how to market and find your deals, and most importantly, how to create that financial freedom in your life so that you can stop trading your time for money and create passive real estate cash flow that you can live off of. If you're interested, go ahead and click on one of the links below, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side.